Welcome to True Crime Storytime. The channel explores real-life cases, revealing the mysteries behind crimes through each fascinating and dramatic story. On August 18, 2018, Christina Kraft, a 36-year-old former model, woke up in her apartment with a terrible headache. She struggled to open her eyes and found herself lying on the floor, with no clear memory of what happened the night before. After leaving the bar with a few drinks, Christina's memory became fuzzy, and she had absolutely no memory of how she got home. The feeling of insecurity increased when Christina discovered that some of her valuables had been stolen from her home, including her handbag, shoes, jewelry, and credit cards. She realized she had been drugged and robbed. Fearing that the thief might return because she still had the spare key, Christina lived in a constant state of anxiety. 4 days later, on the evening of August 21, 2018, Christina's boyfriend Alex tried to call her from New York, where he was working, but received no response. This worried Alex, and after returning to the apartment, he discovered a horrifying scene. The apartment was in disarray, and Christina had been brutally murdered in her bedroom. The case not only shocked the community, but also raised many questions. Who committed this terrible crime? What was his motive? And why was a promising and famous woman like Christina targeted? Let's take a closer look at this tragic story and the difficult journey of the investigators to solve the case. Christina Kraft was born on July 11, 1981, in Ardmore, a quiet suburb near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She grew up in a close-knit family, but her life changed when her mother died when Christina was 9 years old. Her father remarried, and the family expanded to include the children from her stepmother's previous marriage. Christina is a striking woman with a charming appearance and charismatic personality. She has modeled for major brands such as L'Oreal, Victoria's Secret, and appeared in prestigious magazines such as Maxim and Vanity Fair. In 2009, she did a photo shoot for Playboy, marking the peak of her modeling career. However, fame also brought troubles. Christina faced unwanted attention, including stalkers. Her boyfriend Alex often advised her to leave the glamorous life and move back to Ardmore to enjoy the peace. But, as the story later shows, even the safest places could not protect her from a tragic fate. On the evening of August 21, 2018, Christina Kraft, a 36-year-old former Playboy model, was found dead in her apartment in Ardmore, Pennsylvania. The case immediately attracted the attention of Ardmore police. Police were called to the scene after her boyfriend Alex could not reach Christina for a day and returned to check on her. Christina, a famous former Playboy model, was brutally murdered in her own apartment. The crime scene was filled with signs of a struggle, leading investigators to realize that this was more than just a simple murder. Police arrived at the scene after Christina's boyfriend, Alex, could not reach her and found the apartment door locked from the inside. When they broke in, they found a chaotic scene. Furniture was in disarray. Chairs and tables were overturned, and items were strewn everywhere. In the bedroom, Christina's body was found under a bloody sheet. Her face was severely disfigured, with broken bones and eye sockets. Christina's neck had signs of strangulation, suggesting she had been subjected to a violent attack before her death. This led the police to conclude that the murder was likely motivated by rage or personal motive. As is common in murder cases, the police quickly considered a relative or partner of the victim as the prime suspect. Christina's boyfriend Alex was taken to the police station for questioning. However, Alex had a clear alibi. He was in New York on business at the time of the murder. His phone calls and schedule were verified, allowing him to be quickly ruled out as a suspect. With Alex out of the picture, police turned their attention to Christina's other relationships, particularly a burglary that had occurred at her apartment 4 days earlier. In this case, Christina reported that several valuables, including a handbag, shoes, and credit cards had been stolen. Christina believed that the thief may have stolen her spare key and was likely to return. Police began examining security camera footage from around Christina's apartment. The footage showed, on the morning of August 18th, Christina returned home in a taxi after a night out. However, suspiciously, the taxi driver returned to the apartment about an hour after leaving. He remained in the apartment for more than an hour before leaving with a large box. The footage did not show any other forced entry into the apartment at that time, suggesting that the driver may have been involved in the burglary Christina reported. Based on the license plate, police quickly identified the driver as Andre Melton, a 30-year-old man with a criminal history that included violence and robbery. Police executed a search warrant at Andre Melton's home, where they found several items belonging to Christina, including her purse and credit cards. However, Andre was not at home. He had left, and police issued an official arrest warrant for Andre. One thing remains unclear, though. Was Andre involved in the murder? Security cameras on August 21st, the night of the murder, captured Christina returning home with a different man, not Andre. Security cameras captured images of a black man, about 30 years old, accompanying Christina into her apartment on the night of August 21st. The man was not recorded leaving the apartment through the front door, but at around 5:20 a.m. the next morning, the balcony door was recorded opening and closing. This led police to suspect that the mystery man had left the apartment by jumping over the balcony. Christina lived on the first floor, so this was entirely possible. Another taxi driver provided additional clues. He said that Christina and this man had flagged down a cab on the night of the murder, asking to be taken back to the apartment. Christina said she felt harassed by a group of people and that the man had helped her. The driver said the man paid for the taxi and promised to leave after dropping Christina off at her house, but he never returned. The driver's account suggests that the man may have taken advantage of Christina's unstable state to approach her. Police continue to analyze security cameras and search for witnesses to identify the mystery man. They also question whether the previous burglary was related to the murder. Investigators believe that the killer may have known the victim or had been stalking her. The emergence of two potential suspects, Andre Melton and the mystery man, complicates the investigation. Which one of them is the real killer? Or are they both involved in Christina's tragic death? After the scene was sealed off and initial evidence was collected, Ardmore police quickly moved into a full-scale investigation to find the culprit behind Christina Kraft's brutal death. However, the complex circumstances and the presence of multiple potential suspects made the investigation a conundrum. Police believe that a burglary that occurred on August 18th, just 4 days before Christina was killed, was directly related to the murder. During that burglary, Christina reported that several of her valuables were stolen, including handbags, shoes, jewelry, and credit cards. Security cameras showed Andre Melton, the taxi driver who drove Christina home on the night of August 18th, returning to her apartment after dropping her off. He stayed for more than an hour and left with a large box. Andre quickly became the prime suspect in the burglary, especially when police discovered some of Christina's belongings at his home. However, when Christina was killed on August 21st, the cameras captured images of a different man, not Andre. This raises the question, was Andre the killer? Or was he just involved in the burglary? Investigators turned to Christina's social media and personal history. She had been a Playboy model and had a large following, but that fame also brought risks. Christina had been stalked by a number of people, and police did not rule out the possibility that one of them could be the killer. In addition, police discovered an incident in 2016 when Christina was arrested for a fight with an employee at a Manhattan restaurant. However, this was quickly ruled out because there was no indication that the restaurant employee was involved in the case. Andre Melton, the suspect in the property theft, is still at large. Police issued a warrant and expanded the search. During this time, they searched Andre's apartment and found several properties belonging to Christina. However, there was no direct evidence that Andre was present at the scene on the night of August 21st. His involvement remained limited to the theft, forcing police to focus on the unknown man recorded on camera. A key witness suddenly emerged, providing information that helped the investigation progress. He identified the unknown man on camera as Jonathan Wesley Harris, a 31-year-old drug dealer with a history of violence. Jonathan had been released from prison just a month before the murder. He had been convicted of assaulting women and had a history of violence. Witnesses also revealed that Jonathan had left Philadelphia and was headed to Pittsburgh. Police immediately coordinated with Pittsburgh law enforcement to intercept the suspect. On August 29th, police determined that Jonathan was on a bus bound for Pittsburgh. When the bus arrived, law enforcement surrounded the area and quickly arrested him. Jonathan was taken to the police station for questioning. Initially, he denied any involvement in Christina's death, but when confronted with the evidence, Jonathan admitted to meeting Christina on the night of the murder. Jonathan said he met Christina at a bar. He said they had been drinking and using drugs, then decided to go to her apartment. However, this statement was inconsistent with the forensic report, as there were no traces of drugs in Christina's body. Jonathan also claimed that an argument broke out when Christina refused to pay for the drugs he provided. He said the violence was unintentional, but investigators did not believe this, especially considering the level of violence Christina was subjected to. The investigation and analysis of evidence gathered helped police unravel the motive for the attack and identify the prime suspect in Christina Kraft's murder. Pieces of the crime scene, witness statements, and security camera clues led investigators to one name: Jonathan Wesley Harris, a man with a history of violence and dangerous criminal behavior. Jonathan Harris, 31, was a convicted drug dealer. He had been released from prison in July 2018, just a month before Christina was murdered. Jonathan had been convicted of assaulting a woman, robbing, and causing serious injury. Investigators found that Jonathan not only had a history of violence, but also showed signs of mental instability. A witness at a psychiatric facility had previously heard Jonathan confess that he loved the feeling of strangling and killing people, a chilling statement that made police even more certain that he was capable of such a brutal act. When he was arrested on August 29, 2018, in Pittsburgh, Jonathan initially denied any involvement in the murder. He admitted to meeting Christina at a bar and accompanying her back to her apartment, but insisted that Christina's death was unintentional. According to his initial statement, Jonathan said that he and Christina had been drinking, using illegal drugs, and then got into an argument when Christina refused to pay him $1,200 for drugs he had provided. He described the two as having an argument that escalated into a fight. However, an autopsy disproved this account, as there were no traces of illegal drugs in Christina's system. Police quickly realized that Jonathan was trying to cover up his actions and distort his true motives. The autopsy report showed that Christina had been brutally assaulted before her death. She had 22 broken bones in her face, a broken eye socket, her nose was pressed deep into her skull, and her body had multiple injuries consistent with strangulation. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation, but other serious injuries suggested that the killer acted in a state of extreme aggression, even intending to destroy the victim's appearance. This level of violence led investigators to believe that the case was more than a simple attack in a fit of rage. They suspected that Jonathan had a deeper motive, possibly related to mental instability or premeditated murder. After hours of questioning, Jonathan finally confessed to killing Christina, but he continued to blame the victim. According to Jonathan's testimony, after the two returned to the apartment, Christina agreed to have sex with him. However, she then refused to pay for the drugs, leading to an argument. The police presented a series of evidence against Jonathan, including video footage of Jonathan entering Christina's apartment but not leaving through the front door. A taxi driver who drove Christina and Jonathan home on the night of the murder, confirmation of the extreme level of violence that Jonathan had committed against Christina. Despite the conflict, Jonathan admitted to the murder. Christina's death was not only a personal tragedy, but also a shock to the community. Her family and friends were heartbroken by her sudden and violent passing. Christina's boyfriend, Alex, insisted that she had no connection to drugs, completely refuting Jonathan's testimony. Christina's family also asked the media to respect the truth, as some newspapers tried to create sensational stories about her life, distorting Christina's image. As the evidence mounted, the police and prosecutors began to build a case against Jonathan. He was charged with first-degree murder, robbery, and several other crimes. Jonathan's case was not just an act of violence, but also a testament to the dangers of criminals with a history of violence. Jonathan's trial, which began in early 2019, attracted a lot of public and media attention. Prosecutors focused on the level of violence Jonathan used, emphasizing that this was not a murder out of control, but a deliberate and hateful act. Jonathan's attorneys tried to downplay the seriousness of the case by claiming that he acted under the influence of alcohol and drugs. They argued that this was a murder out of control, not a deliberate act, and sought to have the charge reduced from first-degree murder to second-degree murder or manslaughter. Prosecutors, however, argued strongly. They stressed that there were no signs of drugs in Christina's system, proving that Jonathan had lied about their drug use. The level of violence Christina suffered, with severe injuries to her face and neck, indicated that Jonathan had acted deliberately and with a violent motive. The fact that Jonathan had confessed to loving the feeling of killing in a psychiatric facility was also cited as a factor in his motive. After days of trial and deliberation, the jury found Jonathan Wesley Harris guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole, plus 22 years for other charges, including robbery and obstruction of justice. The verdict was welcomed by Christina's family and her boyfriend Alex as justice for the deceased. However, they are still grieving over their irreparable loss. The verdict not only removes Jonathan Harris from society, but also serves as a reminder of the dangers of violent criminals. Christina Kraft's story becomes a lesson in the fragility of life and the importance of protecting personal safety. Although justice has been served, Christina's family will forever be in pain. They hope that this story will serve as a reminder to the community to be vigilant and protect each other. The Christina Kraft case is a heartbreaking tragedy, but it also leaves behind valuable lessons about vigilance, justice, and compassion. Her death is a reminder of the need to build a safer society where people can live without fear of harm. Although Christina is gone, her memory will live on in the hearts of her family, friends, and admirers. Her image has become a symbol of the fragility of life and a call to cherish every moment, while continuing to fight for what is right and fair. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Your support means the world to us.